public input session. I would like to clarify a few things right out the gate. This ordinance, 135, was brought towards the board for recommendation at our regular scheduled November meeting. At that meeting, that recommendation was made, and as a charter township, the policy states that we cannot adopt ordinances right away, as you normally would be able to with the general law. It was recommended, and then it was there again brought back to the following meeting in December, where that resolution was adopted. Everything was posted as per the ordinance within the Alpena News. Everything was posted on our website. Copies were made available even from November. So that being said, we are here today to our Alpena Township's building official, Kirk Malcolmson, is here as well. And we're just going to go through and answer questions that people have in regards to this ordinance. Part of the reason that we decided to go with this is for, simply put, the general welfare of the residents of the Township of Alpena. So, one thing I will mention, since there is a very full house, is that so everybody can be heard, I would request that everybody remain a very professional attitude. If you have questions, I'll ask that you go to the podium, state your name. There's also a sign-up sheet at the podium if you hadn't signed in already, to sign in, and that way you can pose your questions, and we will give answers, and we will go from there. As I said, let's be mindful of one another, and we're here today to answer the questions that you may have in regards to Ordinance 135. So if we could, I'll just ask, yes, Marie, to the podium.
Okay. I'm here today representing several property owners within our community that have contacted me over the contents of Ordinance 135. And I read the entire document, and I found that there's, in my mind, several mistakes, but maybe I'm wrong. And so I went through and I wrote them down, and I would like to present them to this committee. Section 7 of requirements is A2, and it says, an inspection shall be then completed to the satisfaction of the Township Building Department. I have two questions about that. Is that a typo in there, B-Ben? I wanted to know what that meant, if there was some underlying meaning to it, and also who the Township Building Department would be that would be initiating that. It doesn't say, I mean, could that be the clerk? If you send a clerk out there, is that what it could be? Or and if you don't want to do all these right in between, I'm willing to read them all because I have several of that type.
Well, and I think for just to be mindful of the amount of people, I think what will probably transpire is that there's going to be a lot of redundancy with some of the questions. So if you'd like to state your question, we can.
I have several of them, Nate, and they are what you have written in the document, and today I called and asked for a copy of the fee schedule because this ordinance is actually in place as of 30 days from the date you passed it, which was December 17th. So that means this went into effect probably on the 16th or yesterday, and you don't have any fee schedule available or the application for property owners to get. And I guess I'll tell you, because in case you need me to come back, because I do have a lot. I've got 3 pages, and I am representing property owners from out on Worth Road, out on 23 North, and also my husband and I. So even if I only use those, there's 2, 4, 5 people, that would give me 15 minutes at 3 minutes per person.
Well, and that is sound math, Ms. Dwight, but if we get 15 minutes for every person, then we'll be here until...
Well, you know what, you've got a lot of stuff in here that pertains to homeowners, and I am a homeowner, and I do not like the fact that you want to inspect my home if I go to sell my house. That should be between the property owner, the buyer and the seller and not Alpena Township?
That's right.
And why do I have to pay you
That's right.
an inspection fee? I need to
That's
get
right.
him.
That's right. That's right.
You can, by all
Yeah.
I'll call my husband and he'll come, and I do have a note from my brother-in-law, so, you know, if you need that material, I do have it. I came prepared, because I was very upset to think that this township decided they're going to manhandle my property,
That's right.
and a lot of other residents in the,
Yeah,
in the
that's right.
community. You know, there are some good ideas on some of the things that you want to do.
This is a question and answer forum.
Well, I have a lot of questions. Why are you gonna charge me to inspect my house, and it should be public record what you're going to charge me? You have no idea, it could be
Okay,
$2,000.
That's right.
to answer that, the fee schedule has not been adopted by the Board of Trustees, and is going to be presented on December or January the 28th board meeting.
Well, I have a lot of other errors that's in that document, but one of the things I wanted to say is that this board has usurped the residential homeowners, their power by requiring the residents to get an inspection from the Township of Alpena and pay them for it before they can sell their own property. You should not do this, and I and several other property owners are requesting that you rescind this ordinance until you correct the errors that are in it, and that you have in the ordinance and remove the language giving you the power that allows whether or not I can sell my property, because I am not giving that to you. That chore should be done by the landowner and not this board, and I also believe that the board went way too quick to change to general law, to charter township. You people didn't even understand the charter township and how it operates, and you know what? You have committed a lot of wrongdoings in it, and it's fine, but us as property owners get to pay for it. So you ought to go back and look at what you're doing before you finish passing this land.
Why did you put up for vote for other people? Why do you get to vote, not us?
There's a podium, and so if you'd like to be addressed, then you can stand to it and state your name. Thank you.
Hi, Lisa Tim here. I am here today to address the board and the rest of the folks that have joined us to reconsider and amend Ordinance 135 as it pertains to Chapters 4 and 5, owners of non-rental properties, for numerous reasons. Where's the township getting the funds for the manpower to enforce and police this portion of the ordinance? Have you considered the revenue you will bring in versus the cost of implementing? In 2018, there were 113 homes sold in the township through the Water Wonderland Board of Realtors. This is one home every 2.24 days, considering 5 business days a week. This does not include for sale by owners and family transfers that would increase this rate. Can inspections and the corresponding reports actually be completed in a timely manner with the present staff? What will be the fee for these? Hypothetically, if the fee for the seller inspection is $100, this only amounts to $11,300 based on the Board of Realtor sales. Does this cover the cost of the manpower and the hours to uphold the ordinance, or will our taxes have to increase? Has anyone considered the net income and revenue? Is this really cost effective? Every home is already in violation according to your requirements for repairs. What would be the turnaround time on inspections? This takes a little bit more than my 2 minutes, but I've got Amanda's 1 minute. This could greatly affect a closing date if inspections cannot be completed in a timely manner, causing hardship and inconvenience to both the buyers and the sellers. Repairs can be delayed because of the availability of contractors. Most cash sales can close in 5 to 10 days. Are you ready to accomplish this, to have those repairs for those inspections done in that time frame? Most buyers incur rate locks for financing. Who is going to be responsible for the loss of a rate lock if the inspections are not done in this time and reports completed? According to statistics, 98% of homes have home inspections by a certified inspector and paid for by the buyer. Why the additional inspection? Some sellers are suffering a financial burden and need to sell. They don't always have the money up front for these inspections, let alone the repairs requested by the buyer, let alone from you. As a result of this, some buyers don't even care about the condition of a home as they plan to flip the house, or the present conditions are all they can afford. The township is hoping to increase property values with this ordinance. I believe this could actually have an adverse effect, as the township has too many rules. I have documentation showing that a buyer no longer desires to even look in the township because of this ordinance. Many do not understand the ordinance and its purpose. In the past, Alpena Township has always been desirable to property owners with lower taxes, but the water and sewer bills have offset that already. So now what? They're subject to inspections, repairs too? Really, who is the problem here? This is a blight, it's supposed to be a blight ordinance.
Yes.
Most owners that offer their home for sale have already worked on solutions to make their home appealing and sellable. Their agents understand what a buyer wants, and they know what lenders will allow and not allow. Why penalize them the expense for an inspection from the township also? This ordinance should be aimed at those owners who really have the blight issues. The ones who have no intention of selling as they are already too settled in their mess. I beg the board to delay this ordinance in reference to chapters 4 and 5 and to reevaluate its effectiveness in regards to blight. Again, it's not the sellers that are the problem. I realize the new board is excited for changes, but this is over the top. This is a big city bureaucracy, what you have done. This is not a small charter township plan. Thank you. Would you like to address it? Please.
My name's Kirk Malcolmson. I'm the building official for the township. I have 19 years of experience being a building code official, and I understand.
Would you get up to the podium like you
Can you not
have
hear
to?
me?
We can't
No, we
hear you.
can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
No, we
Please
can't.
address it, yes.
Can you hear me now?
No?
You can't hear me?
Not very well.
Now, the reason the whole ordinance was brought into an act, because I've been just bombarded with complaints from property owners, neighbors, of nothing's been done for the last 10, 15 years regarding the blight issues. I have gone out on many a site to review, to follow up on the complaints, and ask the property owners, ask the tenants to please clean up their yards and be respectful of their neighbors. Most of the people would like to comply, or they financially can or can't. The whole reason, excuse me?
There you go, we disagree.
Can't afford it.
I can't,
They can't afford it.
Can't afford it.
the tenant, he can't afford to dispose of his trash out of his yard. That has nothing to do with the property owner.
That's a different issue.
Yeah,
than your
like
trash.
Well,
owning your
that-
house is another.
Correct. I have not gotten to that yet. When it pertains to property owners, it helps them direct what they need to do. The realtors are not mentioning this at all. The whole point of it is to help improve the safety and welfare of the entire township. And I cannot select and say this individual can and this individual can't. I respect the property of every individual. They're your castle, they're your home. If your house is maintained well, I have no business being there, and I've never had a complaint about it. Correct? Excuse me, one person at a time. Am I correct? If you maintain your property, I won't even be there, correct?
That's not what the
You can't even have a happy trip.
Miss Tim.
Excuse me, sir in the back.
What you're saying, you may be correct in your mind, but under chapter 4, which is your, inspection of resident dwelling prior to sale, section 24, inspections, I think you should take a look at that paragraph and maybe rephrase it to make people comfortable, this is what you're gonna do. Under that paragraph, it says, when it is necessary to make an inspection to enforce the provisions of this ordinance, or whenever the township code official has reasonable cause to believe that there exists in a structure or upon premises a condition or violation of the ordinance. My question is, at what point are you gonna hold that inspector that reasonable cause? What's that, just because he doesn't like something, just because he says, that house doesn't look right, I'm gonna go in? Cause it gives you, according to this paragraph, the authority to enter the household as long as you identify yourself.
You know, I don't drive around looking for people. Normally, what, can I finish, or are we just gonna interrupt and take over the meeting? Thank you. I get complaints from other residents who are concerned about someone's well-being or whatever, and I have to investigate once I get that complaint. At that point, whether you like it or not, if you're getting disgruntled with your neighbor and you're having an internal battle, I try to put you two back together to mediate some kind of an agreement. A lot of times, it's falsified. I have people identify that. If I walk up to your structure and the roof is falling down, it's pretty apparent. If there's junk vehicles in the front yard, it's pretty apparent. People, thank you.
Can I just interject one thing? My name is Jim Baldry.
Go ahead.
Okay, you had an article in the Alpena News, and you kind of, talked about a blight ordinance on the, topic one. Then we get into all these subsections. Well, if you can't enforce, and I agree with you 100%, I hate trash, I hate all that crap, but I don't know a township in Alpena County, or for that fact, in the state of Michigan, that even enforces it. So, if we don't have the will.
Shame on them.
And the manpower to do that, why incorporate all this other garbage into an international standard? And I'm not sure what this international standard is. But if you look at Rule 21 in the whole world, that thing is pretty scary.
For all those people who do not understand the International Property Maintenance Code, there's a link on the township website. All of you can link to it, read it at your leisure, compare it with the ordinance. At that point, it is a copyrighted, I cannot reproduce those for you. You can purchase that book for $44 from the International Code Council. This code was written by the board across the entire United States. It is used everywhere. Michigan building codes are adopted from the international building codes. They contour them specifically for the Michigan area. But for everybody that has had misinformation, it is available for you for free. Nobody has to buy the book. It is not illegal. It's a code. It's a very good code. It's for existing structures, not new structures. Does that make sense? To anybody, does that make sense? Yes or no?
No,
Okay.
because you can put it on the new structure.
Okay, and just to get back to the point, so, Mr. Bouldry, you asked, don't we already have, or had we had a blight ordinance? Yes, there has been a blight ordinance. Unfortunately, that blight ordinance was never really taken care of. In my first year as supervisor, I took care of 66 blight ordinance violations. And food for thought, by the time with the current, that standard, it was only regimented in 30, 60, 90, and 120 days. And after 120 days, at that point in time, the township could then issue a civil infraction ticket. By the time that civil infraction ticket got to Judge LaCrosse's court, the township was spending nearly a little over $1,200 to have a $200 disbursement by the court. So that's a $1,000 loss to every taxpayer to address blight in the way that the ordinance had historically been stated.
How does this improve that? Why didn't you just amend the ordinance as it was? Why do you need to?
And Mr. Reinhardt, if you want to be at this, please state your name.
Okay. I'm Russ Reinhardt. I live at 315 Park Drive. I'm from the township. What? I brought talking points that I meant to just distribute and not stick around and try to talk. But I will give you one. It's for all of the. I gave some to the ones that are hiding in the back. In any event, I question whether you read this ordinance before you passed it. I've never heard of an international ordinance, for one thing. I mean, most of them are state or whatever, but so I was surprised to see it came from an international ordinance. I don't know if they're doing this in France, Germany, and Belgium, but, I don't think we need it in our township, especially chapters 4 and 5. I can't believe that, in chapter, I think the one gentleman already addressed section 24, which says that although the building person has been quoted as saying, I'm only gonna look at the outside of your home for an inspection before you sell it, that's not what the ordinance says. And so, just like, I mean, it may be that he will only do that, but then is he doing his job under the ordinance? As I think a real estate agent has already said here, we don't need another inspection when we sell our homes. The buyers usually obtain one, or they require the seller to provide one, and we don't need another level of bureaucracy to help us when we're selling our homes. I asked the Township Board to repeal chapter 4 in its entirety, and I will tell you, if I had vacant property in this, and I think it's chapter 5, where it talks about vacant properties, those provisions, if I was a vacant property owner, meaning an unimproved property, let's put it that way, I get why you want to deal with properties that have buildings that have been abandoned. I get why you want to deal with properties that have buildings that have been damaged by fire. Why you want to make somebody landscape, it's in the ordinance, folks, landscape their vacant property while it's vacant, makes no sense to me. And in the landscaping definition in the ordinance, it talks about wood chips and shrubbery and plantings and things of that nature. Do you think the vacant property owners in this township are gonna do that or want to do that? They may not be residents and they may not be voters, but we are. So I think chapter 5, if that's the chapter on vacants, should go. Let me touch on the penalties and enforcement. There's a
Mr.
real,
Reiner, do you have questions?
I didn't know I had to ask questions.
Well, this is a Q
I
and A.
thought this was a public forum where we could make a statement. Okay. So let's talk about penalties. It talks about a civil infraction, and then it talks about if you don't appear or respond to the civil infraction, you can be charged with a misdemeanor. Number one, you should check with your township attorney, and as you talk about costs, decide whether you want to pay the township attorney to charge misdemeanors if he or she can. I'm not aware, otherwise you're stuck with the prosecuting attorney. And I did just, although I said my talking points, I hadn't had a chance to talk to Mr. Black. I did just before I left, and he indicates that our office will not be prosecuting misdemeanors under this ordinance, at least at this point. So, I'm speaking here not as a resident, but as a, or as a resident, not as a county official of any kind. I don't speak for the county or my office in that regard, except as to what I just said. But it's real interesting that a civil infraction can become a crime. My understanding of the typical ordinance would make a civil infraction that's not responded to subject to a default judgment and the charge of a fee or a fine under that ordinance. So I submit that there should be no criminal penalties under this ordinance, no matter how you might change it. We ask you to change it drastically.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, I'm Bruce Duncan. I own a rental property and some vacant land in the township, as well as my own home is in the township. And I guess I do have a question. Under, would be section 11, in the rental portion of this, it says, referring to me as the landlord, he or she shall be responsible for monitoring the conduct and activities of the occupant public nuisance and that illegal activities do not occur. I am honestly very concerned about that. How does that affect a landowner?
For the ordinance regarding that, as far as, let me see the. Alright. The property owner is responsible for the tenant because they're running it like a business for a monetary income, okay? So you have to look at it as that. If you are renting your property and letting them destroy it or just do whatever, I've heard this time and time again from neighbors, it's just a renter next door, they feel it's better or worse than somebody, but in the end, somebody has to be responsible for that property, and it is the property owner. If you rent to somebody, in the end, however you wrote your lease agreement, if you don't care about your property, that's your business, but you still have to be responsible for it.
So if they have for instance, a illegal grow in the basement, this says that I'm responsible to discover that they're growing excess marijuana in the basement and that I would be held liable for that.
I think it's all legal now.
Ridiculous. Honest to God.
As you set up your lease, you can put your parameters in your lease that's what allows on your property. If they break that ability and you're not informed of it, that's not an easy solution. If someone's a criminal act in your property, can they hold you responsible for it? No, you didn't acknowledge that they were permitted to do that. It's an illegal act. That is law enforcement agency's responsibility to enforce the law. What it comes down to is, in the end, the property owner is going to be held responsible for the tenant's actions in the property, not the law. It has to do with the cars out back, the trash, annoying the neighbors. There's a lot of this going on in the township, people. Whether you believe it or not, or you wanna stand and heckle me and everything, that's irrelevant, but I'm gonna continue to try to serve the community to the best of my ability. Okay? Because I'm here to help you, not here to argue with you or infringe upon your personal rights or get into your pocket. Excuse me, please. The gentleman sitting right there.
Twice now, though, you said that you don't personally do something, even though it's written in here. I don't know you. So I don't care what you say you do. The law says, or this ordinance says something completely different. You can tell me that you're not going to go to my home even though it looks perfectly fine and not going to go into my home. But this says you can, under anything you deem reasonable. I don't know you, we're not friends. I don't trust you with the ability to do what you choose.
Thank you. You have not met me, you have not worked with me, so I can respect your comments, sir. The whole purpose is once all these properties are registered with this gentleman's property, I have a telephone number, I have an email, I can contact him, I have complaints. I'm gonna contact him and say, what's going on over there? Could you meet me over there, please?
But that's not what this says. That's the difference. You say one thing, this is written different. We're not arguing what you think you'll do. We're arguing what this says you can do.
You are under the assumption that I'm just gonna go bowling into someone's property and start pointing things.
I'm under the assumption that this tells me you can.
I
don't care what you
have the
do.
authority,
This
I have the authority based on the board of trustees that if there's a situation where I have to go in and condemn a structure for life reasons or whatever, I can do it on an emergency basis, but I would choose to go to the property owner first and communicate with the property owner. This is what we need to address, very politely. That's what it's based on. It's not based on.
That's not what it says. That's why we want it changed. If it said that, nobody would care. But it doesn't say that. It gives you carte blanche to do as you like. Nobody cares what you will do. Everybody cares about what you can do. That's what this says. What you can do.
So you want to just continue the same way for the last 10 years and just whatever is not done is not done?
Yes. If you need to improve it, improve it.
I did have another question, but I guess I'd just like to end with just a very short comment. Nate,
Speak to the mic.
Nate, I do a lot of business in this county, and I employ attorneys. If this was a contract, my attorney would never, ever, ever let me sign it.
Exactly.
The problem is the language in here, and I don't think my attorney would say it's acceptable, that the contract says this, but don't worry, that's not what I'll do. That, we would have to I'd have to fire my attorney for that. You never sign stuff like that. I've signed, contracts with healthcare organizations, and they came back 5 years later with different people there, and they say, yes, sir, but you signed it. You signed the contract. And but they told me that you weren't going to, that was just boilerplate language. And that's what you're telling us essentially, is that there is boilerplate language, but this is not how it will be carried out. And I don't think that's acceptable. I appreciate the effort, but I think that allowing this to stay as it is gonna be more harmful than it is helpful. And the consequences 5-10 years from now, after it's established, and to then go back and say, hey, there's something wrong with this, I think the consequences outweigh the benefits, although I will say that blight is an issue, and I'd love to see it addressed and addressed effectively. Unfortunately, this doesn't do it.
And to follow up with that, Mr. Duncan, there are some things, obviously a large majority of the individuals have, as the one individual stated, it kind of leaves it carte blanche. This is always a living document, so if there are definitions or language that could be more finely tuned to address a lot of the concerns, then those are the questions where, if you would like to correspond, where we can then look at the potentials of amendments, we can always do that. We are solely here to help the public. So, yes, ma'am.
Hi.
Sure, please.
I just have a very simple question. I think, my name is Chris, and I have a property in the county. Hi, I'm Chris, I have a property in the county. I have a very simple question. I think I spoke to Kurt yesterday in the building department. I asked him if I could sell my property as is. He said yes, as long as you'd have an affidavit notarized by both the buyer and the seller. And I noticed this affidavit that was on the table. Do we have to use this affidavit?
That will be provided to you, yes, at the time, so not to impede the closing. It makes them aware of if there are any violations on the property and it's not remediated by the owner, the seller can assume it. He has 6 months after the day of the affidavit to take care of those violations.
Okay, wait, because it says here, from what you told me, it was simple as ABC, as long as you're notarized, you say, hey, this is what's wrong with my property. I can't afford to fix it. The buyer wants to come in maybe a few years, take his time to make the property more presentable. And this affidavit is stating that the buyer has 180 days to fix any kind of violations. And it looks like it's stated here that it does have to be inspected by you, even if it is selling as is.
That's where the violations will be discovered and documented.
What is as is then?
That they're made aware that those violations are standing, that it's open.
So if we sell an as-is property, you will have to inspect it?
Prior to, it is not to impede, the ordinance
It's
states.
not, that's impeding.
And devaluing by the big way, by the
Devaluing, exactly. You're gonna take a loss.
devaluing all our
I
properties.
can't, but what do I do? I can't afford to fix it, my buyer can't afford to fix it all right now. I'm sitting with a home that I wanna sell as is and I can't. I can't because no one has the money to get it to the way you want it to be to sell it. What do I do when I don't have the money, my buyer doesn't have the money?
Are you gonna give us money?
No, can you hear me?
Yes.
The buyer would assume the responsibility,
In 180 days?
that
What
is
if
the
it's
timeframe, do we
what
just,
is $5,000? Maybe some people do have $5,000, but if somebody needs $5,000 over a period of 5 years, it's understandable, people wanna make their homes nicer. I bought this as a fixer-upper and I put thousands of dollars into it. And it's a cute little home, but it's not gonna pass inspection because I know there's things that are wrong with it, but I don't have the money anymore. And this guy wants my house, he doesn't have the money right now to fix it. So how do I sell my home?
You don't.
You know,
I can't sell my home?
nothing sells in the township anymore.
What do I do? What am I gonna do? It's gonna be an abandoned property. My taxes are up to date, I pay my water bill, I have the cutest little house. It's cute. And the buyer is fully aware of what needs to be done. And you guys aren't letting me sell it. You simply told me that all I needed was an as-is affidavit, and now I see that the affidavit, it still has to be fixed by my buyer within 180 days.
yes, it has a completion date,
Cool, 180 days. That's all I have.
thank you.
Yes, sir. There's one gentleman behind you.
My name is Gerald Harmon. 11 years.
Let's just make this easy. You said you wanted questions. You got it?
Can't hear you.
Simple. Sorry. I don't like doing this. What transpired to all of a sudden decide we need to have this ordinance in the county?
What transpired is, for the past 2 years, having to deal with continuous issues that we're losing taxpayer dollars trying to address appropriately.
Was this based on individual people?
Numerous individual people.
Well, this is my problem with society anymore, and I don't know if you guys agree or not. But say you've got 25 people, 3 of them aren't doing things correctly. But yet, the ones that are doing everything that they need to do, how it should be done, the correct way, the whole 9 yards, those 3 people, they don't give a shit. They're not gonna do
Ma'am,
anything.
if you could just watch the line.
They don't give a hoot. Okay? But why is it the rest of us get penalized, or feel like we're being penalized, for stuff that these 3 people don't care about anyways? It doesn't make any sense. With this ordinance, what is there to gain from it? Obviously, it's gonna cost money to homeowners, business owners, taxes, all that is affected. What is the outcome? What are we looking to gain by doing all this?
What are we looking to gain?
Yeah.
Basically, a community that is in harmony with itself, because what happens
Now, give them a chance, guys. We said this was gonna be question and answer.
Yes. Well, hi, Dr. Gilman. Yeah. This had nothing to do with that gentleman either.
Then you may wanna leave the building. Safety precaution. So what is your grand scheme?
What was
is-
the grand scheme?
Yeah.
So that everybody is on a level playing field, so that everybody, well, like you said, if there's 25 individuals and 3 are the problem,
Mhm.
3 are gonna be the focal point. It's not that, how many times, if you are one of the other 25, obviously 22 remain, and you're not selling your home, you're doing everything the way that you always have. Do you think that the township as a police state is going to now come to your place and say, now you need to fix this?
Whoa,
Yeah.
reel in the reins there, guys. Sorry. That's fine, but if you listen to everybody, this ordinance doesn't come out and say it that way. My question is, was this ordinance looked by an attorney? Was it done professionally by somebody? Was there anybody with the capability, the law degree, whatever you wanna call it, look at that thing before it was signed?
Yes.
Then you should fire that person. They obviously- And my last question, I will leave. We got how many board members that signed this thing?
Seven.
trustees.
Seven for township.
Two trustees.
That had to sign this ordinance, correct? Okay.
Still go inside.
There's only two of you,
Because this is not a board meeting.
What is it then?
but
It's
if
a
they are
public input
involved,
session.
if they were involved in signing and passing this, I don't care if it's a meeting, I don't care if it's a Girl Scout troop, whatever, if you were involved in signing this, you have a responsibility to be here, to hear what everybody else is saying.
Exactly.
That's all right.
They don't care,
They don't care.
Well, that's
and
just
you know
it.
that's
What is
not
their
the truth,
excuse?
that's why.
because they don't.
Is they know because when they did all this, it was very pretty, so I'm not gonna
Right.
come here because, you know, I don't wanna get eggs thrown at me and tomatoes. and
No,
the
by no
others.
means. It was solely to have questions be presented so that we can answer questions.
Sorry to take up your time, but I think I kinda,
Thank you. No, I appreciate your comments. We have numerous other people, Russ, sir. Sorry.
Hi, I'm Dave Doan, I'm a new resident of the county, or township, and, I was, a couple quick questions. One is, what is this gonna cost as far as time of Kurt's to implement all of this? Does he have time, or are we gonna be hiring somebody like the city did to implement the rental ordinance that they adopted? And how much time are they gonna, required to do a proper inspection of a house or a rental? Where is that money coming from to do that? How much time is it gonna, are they gonna require? We just had we just sold our property, and, the, buyer had an inspector come over. He spent roughly 3.5 to 4 hours to do a proper inspection. Now, yes, he did a whole home inspection, in and out. But you're saying it's only gonna be an out, but at some point in time, it's gonna be an in. According to the ordinance, they can go in there at any time. I mean, Kurt can decide, well, maybe there's more wrong than, you know, the roof might be caved in, or the roof might have a little dip in it, or whatever, and, well, maybe I need to check that out some more. This ordinance says that he can do that. He's saying he's not going to, but according to the language, he can. So where does that cut off, start and stop? Where is that money coming from? And who's gonna pay it? The fees haven't been set. Unsurprisingly, you got an ordinance already invoked. How much you gonna charge, $100, $200?
Yes. 125, 11 years ago.
You know,
It happened every month, too.
You know, and is the board gonna then hire somebody to help Kurt, because he's gonna be swamped?
How fast can you get out there?
You know, and if I'm selling a house and it goes bang, bang, you know, I'm gonna need that done ASAP. Well,
He's got 10 houses in front of yours, sorry.
that's what I got.
I'd like to address that once again. The fee is based on the end user, seller, tenant, landlord, property owner, whoever needs the inspection of that property per the ordinance. Time frame wise, it can be anywhere, depending on the damage of the house, down to a perfect house, from half hour to an hour and a half. That's all it takes. I'm capable of performing 20 inspections a day. Would anybody like to take me to the challenge? Immediately, excuse me. Excuse me,
Yeah.
I'd like to answer the question. I am now out in the field with remote surface probe, So as I walk away from your property, the inspection is completed. If you'd like it emailed to you, we can do that. If you'd like a hard copy, we can have it printed mailed to you in slow mail. How would you like it?
Well, as quick as possible if it's a 5-day sale, you know, that.
So as I left the premise, you would have it emailed to you. Is that quick enough?
Well, how soon could you get to the property?
As soon as you can schedule it.
I don't want them inspecting
And not
my
on the day of
private
the
home.
closing, let me emphasize that. Not on the day of the closing.
My first inspection for 2 months.
Pardon? Excuse me, who's the person who was making the comment about not having my inspection? Could you stand up, please?
I don't want your.
I want to address it.
Really?
Thank you.
Really? You're gonna tell somebody to stand up?
I just asked him. Is that a problem?
That seems to be to me, yeah.
Yes, sir.
I didn't have a question, you asked me to stand up.
Well, you just made a comment, that's all.
Let's all see.
All right,
You said you can do these inspections and that you'll get them all done, that's great, good for you.
thank you.
I talked to you a month ago and you were like, you've got a permit for a furnace, that was in November. You're like, I'm gonna get it done, that was 5 weeks ago. Still not
A
done.
permit for what?
Furnace.
I'm not
I
a
know you're
mechanical
a mechanic,
inspector.
but you can see it, but.
They are contracted and they're just done 1 day a week.
Understand that, but if he.
So they have to work to their schedule.
You're not gonna let me talk and you
Yes.
keep telling everybody else to be quiet.
Thank you.
If that mechanical inspector can't get things done in a timely manner, how do you really think that you can get 20 done in 1 day? That's ridiculous.
Right.
Thank you. Now the mechanical, plumbing, electrical contractors, inspectors will also be issued Surface Pros so they can operate out of the field to save time and increase the efficiency.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, I'm Clay Dunbar, I live at 2656 Worth Road. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I guess my question is, I'm a building contractor, and so you're putting a lot of work on the building inspector. So how long is it gonna take me to get a framing inspection when I wanna keep on building the house? I mean, how many more people are you gonna have to employ to execute this mission? That's just my question.
Currently, none at this time.
Good, thank you.
I will come out if you schedule an inspection. Normally you have a minimal 24 hours. I try to accommodate within an hour or two of a call.
Yeah, I have no beef with that, I mean, but if we're going to,
As the schedule increases
yes,
and the need increases, then we'll increase at that point. But right now, I'm totally capable of handling the inspections of all what is being requested. You're not gonna all register on the same day. If you have 100 units, you're not gonna do them all on the same day. You're gonna phase them in. Unless you want them all done on the same day, then I'll be working a lot of time, 3-4 days in a row, but I'll get it done for you.
all right, thank you.
Does it need to be in writing?
Yes.
I can answer. The township attorney it's been the same firm, for well over 26 years. Our attorney is Tim Golden, out of, Bauer, Mazda, and Flora. Same group. Smigelski, there's a numerous. Yes, Mary Beth.
Hi, I'm Mary Beth Stutzman. I am here today representing the Alpena Area Convention and Visitors Bureau and the hotel property is located within the township. I am all for cleaning up light. I understand rental inspections as an owner of rental houses. I have been through the process with that and I understand that. I have bought homes, so I understand the timely manner in which those transactions need to take place. But that's not what I'm here to ask today. I am here to talk about how hotels are written into this ordinance. I had emailed one of the township supervisors to ask for clarification, just to make sure that I understood things correctly, and what I was reading made sense. And he really wasn't able to answer my questions, which led me to believe that maybe he didn't really understand the ordinance before it was passed. So that was a little bit of a concern. concern, but I appreciate the opportunity to ask questions now. So hotels are written in, to the definition under rental dwellings that will be inspected. This is a concern because as it is written, that means that every hotel in the township, since the ordinance went into effect, is now in violation because they should not be renting until they have their certificate, which of course they can't get. So there are some concerns of how that logistically will take place, or why it even needs to be written into that, initially in the first place. It's a concern for the economy of Alpena, it's a concern for the tourism industry. Many of the hotels already go through their own corporate inspections, to assure that they meet all of these things. A lot of these things that are listed, and I read both the ordinance about 10 times, and I also read the International Property Maintenance Code. So hotels are in there in both places. So the supervisor that I spoke with, and I do appreciate him responding to me and talking with me over the phone about it, he said, firstly, that this was mainly an outdoor play ordinance. But it clearly isn't, because both places clearly list in interior inspections. So as it pertains to hotels, he said, well, this does not pertain to hotels or motels, it only pertains to non-commercial hotel property, which I have never heard of a non-commercial hotel. So I'm not sure what that is, but I was wondering if you could explain that a little bit better. And then he said that hotels are not meant to be a part of this, but we can't go by what he told me over the phone, like has been echoed many times. We have to go by what is written. That is the law that we will be expected to follow. So if that was not the intent, then we request an amendment to the ordinance. So first, maybe you could help me understand how hotels are going to be affected by this, if they will, and if not, how that will be fixed in the ordinance.
Yes, they are all inclusive, answer to your question. The inspections should be done annually for hotels by the fire department as well, to make sure the egress, exit signs are working, the fire extinguishers are up to date, emergency lighting is working, smoke detectors are working in all hotel rooms. Does that help answer your question, or no?
No, especially when the township supervisor said he spoke to you, and he said, according to him, that you said that hotels were not a part of this, that would not be included. So I'm very confused about what I'm hearing.
No, it's just misunderstanding.
Then my last question is, we would like to formally request a meeting with the township, the building inspector, and the hotel property owners to further discuss this part of this ordinance.
Thank you.
As I stated, I mean, there are obviously some clarification that we can make. We have not set forward a fee schedule, because as it is assumed, this is a backdoor mechanism. This had been posted for over a month. And before we
Lights.
So, yes, sir.
Last time I didn't mention my name, Jim Zanikowski, live on Grand Lake Road, Alpena County. I have two that I can still remember, my main questions. One, with the inspection performed for you to approve the selling of the property, at that point, when you sign off on that, will the county at any point be liable if something should fail in that house after the purchase by a buyer?
The county will.
They're accepting
Township, I think.
Or the township, I mean, sorry.
This was the question I asked.
Why would we be liable? It's a visual inspection to correct any violations. The very next day, if the furnace should fail, how would the township be liable for failure of a piece of equipment?
Well, that's what I'm asking, I'm just asking if
Right.
you, in any way, will the township be affected financially if something should fail in the house after you give approval, yes, it is up to code and it's good to go. That's all I'm asking. So there's
Again,
no legal repercussion towards the township, correct?
I'm not the attorney on that end of that, but I believe no.
Okay. The second question I have is, well, first I'll say, the good things you guys do, nobody cares about because you guys don't get the credit for, okay? The stuff you do bad, everybody cares about. I'm
obviously, as you see, you know what I mean, as you hold this office, but the other question I have is pertaining to, will there be any implications or any review of an individual's taxes after a house is reviewed, as in the house isn't worth what is assessed at, or after the improvements have been made to that house to bring it up to code? Has there been any thought as in that taxes will remain the same, or now that it's up to code, I got a new roof or something that I've seen, now we're gonna increase the taxes upon these individuals? Has that thought, I mean, has that ever entered anybody's mind as in, no, that's not what we're doing this for? There will be no tax increase after we review these homes and improvements are made? Or is the thought process, now you improved it, now you brought it up to code, we're gonna raise your taxes because your house is worth more maybe?
Of course.
It's just a question that will hit you at some point, I'm sure. Someone will think of it. So, they're just, some are just too there. Thank you.
What's the answer?
That is actually, sorry. So, as everybody knows, especially all the professionals in the room, the assessing department does their annual inspections. If things are built to a certain standard, that is based upon that assessment. So if you add on, you do improvements to your home, as everybody knows, that increases your equity. Equity is basic, your salaries, or your, sorry, I do apologize. Your property values are assessed as properties in the immediate area or the jurisdiction of how the state assigns assessments. Within sales of that region are how property values are set. So.
Can I respond to that?
Mr. Reiner,
Thank you. The other part of that, though, is that the more bureaucratic stuff you impose on a property, and I'll use the Crestfield development as a good example, the more fees and assessments and monthly charges or whatever that you have to go through devalues property. So some of us may lose our equity if we're close to, if we have only 20% or less of equity in our property now, we may lose that. I believe that this ordinance, as it is, especially in regard to sale of homes and or vacant property, probably even more so, will devalue our properties, and devalue it in a big way.
Hi, my name is Sharon Houston, been a real estate broker for about 29 years, and also own a home, my husband and I do, in the township as well as a business. And I'm just wondering how much thought went into this regarding, did you folks watch what the city did regarding blight and rentals back in the day, back in the early 90s, when they went in and decided to do inspections on city rentals that were in very, very bad shape? Turn things around, not that a lot of landlord liked it, but made a huge difference in the city. And the other thing they did was they got rid of a lot of blight. And I could call Mike Kalashevsky and say the grass is too long at this repossessed home. They would send letters to the bank would say, okay, have someone cut it, or they would cut it and send a bill to them. Well, it didn't really have an impact that I saw on the property values of the city homes, which I was hoping when I started reading about this blight, that's what we were talking about, the blight in the township, the tires, the tall grass, the junk cars, things that I see out in my neck of the woods south of town. And all of a sudden, you went into homes and you've affected people's property values, maybe not meaning so, but you have. Because if those people do not have the money to fix up their houses, how are they going to be able to put them on the market and sell them without waiting for your inspections? I mean, do you have a contingency fund set aside so these folks can have money that they could borrow from you to make these improvements that you're gonna make them make, so they can improve it to sell their home, and then they can pay you back? Has anything like that been thought of?
No, we do not have a contingency fund to take.
Well, neither do the sellers. So
And then also the buyers.
well, you can't put it on the buyers either, because the buyers, that's what you have inspections for already. I think the blight idea is tremendous, and it's very, very keeping them from selling their home, basically, when we've had the best market that I've seen anyway in 10 years. And our repossessed homes are down to like down to zero. Everybody who's been in real estate a long time, like I have, we saw homes that were just major. They're gone. They're mainly gone. And if people that live out of town inherit a home, they're not gonna wanna say, oh, you want all these improvements? We'll just come up from Tennessee and make the improvements. They're gonna let the house set. It's gonna look like you know what, and it's gonna look like the old repos did. So the only thing I'm suggesting is hopefully this can go back to the board and maybe you could meet with professionals in different industries and we could revise this somehow. I don't know if that's possible or not, but I
Is
just
it
thought I'd
possible?
suggest it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
My name is Bill Kozinski. I'm a property manager for 112 units in Alpena Township. I get inspected 7 times a year. The state, the federal, and then ownership provides every 3 months inspection. You've been in business 19 years. I've been at 39 years. I've picked up on everything. I inspect them myself every 3 months. I am in each unit, 120, 112 units, every 3 months. Are you gonna charge my owners for you to come and inspect them? It's redundant.
What type of properties are you managing?
Section 8, housing, HUD housing.
So they're regulated by the federal government,
That's correct.
and you're managing them.
That's correct.
You have certification from the state and the federal government? So you could produce that, excuse me, not from the state, but from the federal government, section 8, that you're probably taking care of them?
Oh, yeah.
Correct. So at that point, I just have communication, I have had no complaints from your buildings, I'm totally unaware of them.
Okay, thank you. I don't know what you're gonna do, like it's written differently here, but now I'm gonna go to the township homeowner. What I've heard is you have problems with 2025 that won't take care of their stuff. Why are you wasting your time on the people that take care of their place?
Thank you.
I mean, you should go after them, charge them, put it on their taxes. If they won't do their blight, do it. But a homeowner that I see quite a bit, they try to sell their home, there's a reason they're selling. There's a reason the buyer's buying. He's getting it at a discount if they have to sell, and he knows he's gotta make improvements. You say you're here from the township people, and I don't think you're helping the township people any. I really don't. Work for the people. Go after your problems. I don't understand that.
Hi, my name is Kim Knarf. My husband and I own a home in the township. We own several vacant properties in the township. The language of this ordinance is extremely disturbing. I'd just like to ask everybody here, how many people here have a problem with the township taking care of blight? Taking care of blight. That you're here because they're taking care of blight, they wanna take care of blight. Not a single hand is raised, okay? I'm not here to bash you guys, I'm just asking to try to stop this meeting from going any further. I have one question for you, are you willing to repeal the ordinance and try to take care of the blight issue that you say you're trying to take care of?
I think at this point in time, we have to be diligent and listen to, as everybody's voice is brought forth. Can I make that statement right now? No, because as it was mentioned previously, this is not a board function. This will be, this discovery and this communication will be definitely going to our next board meeting at the 28th. And what we're seeing is some language clarification that needs to be taken place. And obviously, that is, as is everything,
So if we all show up at the meeting on the 28th, we can ask to have this repealed at that point in time.
our board meetings are at 6 p.m.
so that's the answer to the question, yes, we can ask to have it refilled at that point in time. Okay. Because I probably probably the rest of the people in the audience will probably leave and come back on the 28th if that's not something that's on the table today. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Corinne Kensa. My question is, if I go to sell my house and you come inspect it and you find something wrong, I can't afford to fix it, is why I'm selling it. The buyer doesn't want to take on the project, so now I'm caught. I can't sell it because of what you say needs fixed. I can't afford to fix it. Eventually, you get the property. Is that how that reads? Because eventually it gets condemned or it gets whatever the township ends up with it. The township gets it. Is that not what it says?
No,
Yes.
it would be the county.
For the county.
Same difference.
If I can't fix what the town, what you say, I can't pay your fees and I can't pay your, fix it in your time frame, then I get more fees on top of it. I can spend 90 days in jail and each, okay, this all happens while I'm sitting in jail for something I can't afford to fix. And then I lose the home and get nothing from it. That's how it reads, is that they can actually, if you can't fix it, once that's there, you can't sell it, you can't afford to fix it, it goes to you. Just like if I don't pay my taxes, if I don't pay my fines, it goes to you, it goes to the county. Is that how that works?
Or the bank.
Or if the bank, say there is no
No,
mortgage,
that-
say there is no lien other than the lien you place on it.
No,
Does that not make it yours?
no, that is an extreme circumstances where someone should pass away or something and the building is left abandoned. The whole point of this entire meeting is question and answer to help facilitate anybody's questions. And anybody here that still has them remaining can make appointments next week to come and talk with me. I have no problem with that. Because I wanna make sure everybody gets what they're looking for.
Right, and it was just a question if the worst case scenario
We have to
thing.
start,
the
we
way
have to
it's
start,
written, you know.
we have to start somewhere, and the first platform level is, this is where we wanna start, help improving the entire community.
Right.
And bring it together instead of a division, if that makes any sense at all.
Right, and I understand that you guys are trying to do what's best for the county, but
Not
the
the
way,
county,
or for the
township.
township, but the way
We
this
are all
is
in the
written, the way this is written, you have a right to, if I can't afford what you tell me to do, you get my property.
That is not correct. The whole point of this is the communications, and I will work with anybody with any hardship, as long as they say, I can do it at this time, I will take them with that. And if you have a situation, I would request it, just provide it to me in writing, and I will abide by that. I'm very,
And what about your predecessor, something?
I cannot answer for any predecessor.
See, and that's the
I'm sorry.
problem with the language, is you can't, I'm not putting this responsibility on you for the next gentleman, but within all rights, or lady, I'm not leaving anybody out here, by all rights, they can, the way this is written, they can follow it, and we have to follow it. So like you said, we want a nice township, we want a nice place to live, but we don't wanna give all of our rights away, everything.
I'm Sonny Tim. I'm in the same predicament when I sell my house or whatever. And I don't necessarily need an inspection to come in when I want somebody that wants to buy my house. And it's gonna be at what they offer, it's gonna be what it is. The other thing is, according to her point, is when a place goes up for taxes and the county gets it, is the county gonna be responsible to fix these places up to be for resale, because you resell them after? So is that another ball of wax? The other question I have is if you have places that are in blank situations, and maybe it's in the home condition of it, there's programs out there that maybe the person has to go and look at it, and them stuff takes care of a lot of people that don't have money. It replace doors, windows, insulation, all that kind of stuff. That type of stuff is what you should be really going after, and there's no reason that there should be tires or cars in there. It does not cost that much, so anybody that's out there that's poor, there's people that'll go around, they'll pay you to take your car away. And they'll give you a little bit of money to get rid of that tire and other things. So if you wanna fix up your property, there's no reason that, if you're that lazy, you know, I mean, it should be where it's taxed more for somebody that doesn't take care of a place. And somebody that's got a beautiful place should be less. That's how you would make it better.
Yeah.
Sorry, Carrie Buckler. You had just stated that we should not register all of our rentals at one time unless we wanted to pay for them all at one time, that we should phase them in. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. In the ordinance, it says the owner of an existing rental dwelling shall have 30 days from the effective date of this ordinance to comply with the requirements. And one of the requirements is that we register our rentals. And this has already been on the books for 30 days. So we're already in violation. So I want to know what the process is that we should then follow if we have a significant amount of rentals.
I will let you determine your own schedule as far as how you want to approach that. As far as is anyone in violation, if it's not being enforced currently at this time, no one is in violation, no one has been cited. This is a process to put in place to give you people the opportunity to talk. Have I prosecuted or cited anybody?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Coming.
Thank you.
Years.
But
I wanted to verify before notices started going out and.
Yes,
and
no,
things
this,
like that,
this,
because that is what it says.
this is a mechanism we're trying to set in place to be fair for everybody. And if I did every person on the exact same day, it's physically impossible, sure. But common sense tells you that you can do so many a day. Some people plan on doing it in 3 weeks, some people plan on doing it this summer. There's no termination date, we have to start with the beginning point, the 30 days of effectiveness. So yes, it's in effect. So now everybody's here, and I appreciate everybody turning out, because this is fantastic. I've got a better ability to talk to the community than before, trying to figure out who belongs to what property, what phone number, what email address, who the individual is, and they get to meet me as well. I'm not here to take away anybody's rights, property, or anything. I haven't taken anybody's stuff away.
You're not gonna be here in 2 years or 3, that's the problem.
Excuse me, could you stand up, sir?
Yeah.
Thank you.
The basic problem is, I know everybody's trying to do good things and do the right things. The problem is the document doesn't match what your intentions are. So what I'd ask is if you rewrite this document to do what your intention is, and then that way the next set of, the township supervisor and the next inspector that comes in, they're the ones that have to implement. So you might, you know, I understand what you're saying right now, how you're gonna do it, but you might be gone in 2 years. I mean, a fire truck might hit you, and who knows? Blow off the roof.
Maybe by the end of the day, the way it looks.
All I'm saying is the document is gonna live forever. Nobody on the board and no job in the township is gonna be here forever. So the document really needs to be reviewed and do what it wants you to do. And so that's just the question. You guys review the document.
Thank you, and with that, with the checks and balances, the oversight of the board, with the participation of all the residents and business owners and everything, has a very good impact. I've attended every meeting in the township, and not a person in here has been there. Why is that?
You missed me.
Yes,
Okay, excuse me one, I'm sorry, but I'm inviting you to come to the board. I absolutely would enjoy participation in guidance, in input, in questioning, absolutely. Absolutely. I do not know anybody in this audience, very few people know me, a couple do, but whether it's good or bad, I'm still here to do a job to serve the community. And if you have no faith in your community, and you have no faith in your township, and you have no faith in me, why are you sitting here? Because every one of you is concerned about the township to say, hey, we want it better too, so let's all work together. That's all I'm trying to get at this point. If you don't like a certain word or verbiage, we'll address it together. I have no issue with that. Yes, sir.
Do we,
township of Alpena have the right to sell a piece of property without the township's blessing?
We're not taking anybody's rights, we're not selling anybody's property, so where's the right part?
Section 23 states that it shall be unlawful for any person to transfer a dwelling to any person or to act as broker for the transfer of the dwelling which does not have a current certificate of approval issued for the dwelling. That's a right taken away.
Yes.
When was that okay?
Thank you. The entire thing
When is that inspection going to happen? There could be maybe 50 closings a week
Yes.
during a calendar year, every week. Are you gonna make it to every one of those homes that have to be issued a certificate before that sale can happen?
Yes.
I doubt you will.
lie.
You don't have that ability.
I don't think you have the authority to come in my house and inspect my house. Like this document says, even if it's an as-is, so if I sell my house to my daughter for $1, I gotta pay you whatever you determine.
That's not a part of the,
And-
that's not a part of
They
the
haven't even
ordinance, Marie,
determined it yet.
that's accepted out, it is a gift. That is
Where
not
does it say it's a gift?
And everybody, if we could get back on task.
Yeah.
Just a quick question on this exterior inspection checklist, just a couple questions regarding it. First of all, where did it come from, who established it?
Those are established right directly from the International Property Maintenance Code book, they are listed in there, this is just a short version. So there's been a lot of questions, so the simple justice is provided, so you people can at least say, okay, we see what it is. That's all it is a checklist, these are the things we look for on the exterior.
Because our RD financing, the rural development, financing, which is 100% financing, the home has to meet certain criteria, and this is even in excess of that. So it's just stringent, like rounded handrails, windows, you said it's an exterior inspection, but, windows have to be operating, the only way to find that out is to get inside the house.
Yes, it would be, but it's just an explanation for the individual who's selling the house, these are the things that I'll look for. There are actually windows that are broken out, you know, jams that are froze or seized up or painted over, they need to be operable for egress, that's all.
And you yourself will be going onto the roof to check the chimney?
No, I will not.
It says for crumbling tops, missing or deteriorated mortar joints, must have a chimney cap.
It's very apparent from visually looking at from the ground, the mortar, the brick scalding onto the ground.
It says check for leaks, missing shingles and or small holes that allow the wood to rot underneath the causing structural hazard. Some of it just seems a little bit far-fetched, or a little bit too broad, you know, too picky.
But
It's a little too picky.
it's not to be picky, it's just to give a list of what is looked at during the inspection.
Also, the cement is a 1/2 inch, trip, but on the rental inspection, you allow a 3/4 inch. Where the seller is used to a trip, but a rental has several people coming and going, you would think the 1/2 inch would be for the rental, the 3/4 inch would be for the sellers. I mean, they're not equal for some reason.
Okay, we'll address that then.
Thank you.
Mr. Val, I would like to thank the trustees and Nate for opening this session to all of us. We all have a heart's burden for property rights in our own homes and for what we possess, because we work hard to make that happen. And they need to be protected. And I'd like to know, I contacted the Water Land Board of Realtors, which we are so concerned about property rights for people. We have fought this for years after years after years at every state, every level. And this will not be unnoticed at the state level as well. So I would ask that you take up the heed and listen to what we have to say. Did you receive the letter that was addressed on January 15th to the Charter Township of Alpena Board of Trustees?
Yes, ma'am, signed by President Amy Wilson.
Yes, that is right. And did you notice in that particular letter that homeowners, property managers, vacant property owners should be free from the government interference and regulations of local government inspections of private property
during the buying and selling process. Local codes are already in place to handle any kind of blight issue, and the private property owners should be free from government over-regulations and infringements on personal property rights, private property rights. These decisions should be left up to the buyers and the sellers who have the ability to be in charge of their own public safety. Just as in the township, you should not, in buying and selling automobiles, have a master mechanic inspect each and every car, and the same holds true for home sales. Any renter receiving government assistance is required to have a home inspection, that it would be okay. You know, my whole point in this, when I first read it, I thought, I really don't believe this. This is so far out. As far as saying you care about the people. I represent everybody at every level when I go to sell a house. Private property, rentals, homes, and this is causing a major burden and a hardship. And I don't know where you got this international code, but this international code is not friendly to Alpena Township people. I'd like to ask you, how many of you will like this? Raise your hand, who like it? All of you who don't like this ordinance, and you want to please the people, raise your hands. You've got a whole group of people representing maybe 100 other people who would like to have been attending today.
Yes.
But can't attend because it's between 3 and 5 and not in the evening. Or on a Friday when people start making plans for the weekend. It's really sad for me to be here to have to say this to you folks, when I know there's a lot of people in this group or on your committee. 2 of them I know was not raising their hand. Several have not read it and yet adopted it, and they are causing such hardship, such a concern and stress for these people who are worried about their property when it comes to sell, what they're going to have to do. Little fringes on the doors that are not there are missing. I don't care what anyone says. If it isn't in writing, we learned it. Real Estate 101, it doesn't exist. So folks, what you see, you better not accept. So you better all be at that meeting on the 28th of January to get this repealed and to get something that would be satisfactory, that we can live with, that would be a benefit to everybody, including the trustees.
Mr. Rumbles.
Thank you. Jim Rumbles, I own a local title agency. We close a large percentage of the real estate transactions in this community, in this township. What obligation will I have to assure that this inspection has been done and that your certificate of approval has been issued before I allow the closing to happen? What will I be held to? Do I cancel the closing if they don't present it?
No, not.
Why not? The rule is here. It's in writing. It says that it is unlawful for a person to transfer a dwelling without the certificate of approval.
It is required prior to the closing, yes.
That's right.
Yes.
So
I
I have an
misunderstood your question.
obligation to not allow the transaction to happen unless that's in my possession.
Yes.
That's right, you've infringed on.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. That's what I'm not saying.
I want to ask a question regarding, I think they'll hear me.
I'm sure.
I'm loud. Marie Dwight, Alpena Township, 4165 Turkey Road. I'm wondering why residents of this township was not included in the invite for today's comments. This has the negative impact on all property owners, and in your article that was in for the press, you invited contractors, realtors, business people, professional people, but you didn't invite the normal, ordinary homeowners. And this has a very, very negative effect on all of us. Thank you.
I agree with your statement, if I could. I can't control how it's presented in the press. This is open to everything, as every township meeting actually is. It's for the residents. I can't respond or be held accountable for how it was portrayed, so.
Someone must have wrote it up for you.
Well, there's one gentleman before you that had his hand. Mr. Thorne.
Diamond Drive, and I'm here to protest section 23 and 24, because I own my home, I bought it in good faith, my taxes are paid, my water bill's paid. I don't need somebody coming over to tell me when I can sell and when I can't. It's definitely against everything that's American. We're not turning into a socialist government. We want to take and have honest representation. And it should be up to me and my beautiful wife to tell me whether we can do it. I don't need the building inspector or you, Mr. Nathan. But the thing is, I don't like it, and especially when it says if he can't get in, he'll get the deputy lash come over and help him. So the thing is, I'm adamantly against both those sections, and I wish to have it taken out if possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, where's American freedom? You're taking it away from everybody. Look at everybody.
I think that this is great. That's why this forum was
But you're
presented.
pulling American freedom away from the people. The Jews are the ones that's doing it.
Okay, just remember the recycling bins are for 1 through 7.
I didn't even get a paper. I don't even got a paper like they got.
I don't have one either.
No, there's people.
And we, by all means,
I can't
we
read
can make
it.
more copies.
I can't read it.
You can't read
I got a reading problem. But you guys throw all this here into people, and you're not letting us have our freedom. Right?
I'm Clay Bonte. I live in Wilson Township. Well, I have a cottage on Long Lake. Now I kind of wish it was in Prescott. All this amounts to is fees and money for the township.
Exactly.
And you, I do not know, how long have you been an inspector in this area?
10 months in Alpena.
Oh,
10 months.
yeah.
Oh, you're making friends.
Where did you come from? If you don't mind if I ask you.
Monroe County.
Yes, sir.
Once you made your point.
Yes, sir.
My name's Chris Lehman. I've lived in the township for 5 years now. I've lived in a lot of towns, cities, townships, counties, states, from South Florida to North Michigan in my 66 years. Every one of those jurisdictions has a blight ordinance. Blight ordinances are a dime a dozen. There's a million model ordinances. You can pick one and modify it to what you want and enact it. We all are in favor of that. Yes. Can you tell me one jurisdiction that has a requirement for a letter of approval to sell a house? I've never seen one, and I don't think anybody here has. So where did this come from? Is it a revenue generating idea? It might be a good one. But it's not gonna fly with people. So where did this idea come from? I don't get that. I got here a little late, couldn't find a place to park, so I might have missed it.
I do apologize for the parking.
And to enact an ordinance without a fee schedule in place is absurd.
Where'd it come
Where
from?
did this idea come from? I've never heard of such a thing. Across this country, can you name some of the towns that have it?
Property, the International Property Maintenance Code.
Has it been adopted by any real town, township, or city, or state?
From Europe. All across the nation. It is well.
Anybody ever seen one?
No.
Nope. I mean, I've bought and sold a lot of houses in my day, and I never had to get an approval from the jurisdiction, township, you know, that.
That's basically what was mine.
My 2 cents.
Thank you, sir.
Very good.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm Amy Wilson. I represent all the realtors in Alpena as well, and I'm also the president of the Water Wonderland Board. On behalf of the board, we would like to see you rescind the ordinance at this time until all these questions are answered for the folks, not only for us, but for you guys as well. Back onto section 23 section 24, where it states that you can enter the structure. I've noticed that you've given us an exterior inspection checklist. I would like you to provide us an interior checklist as well.
Thank you very much for your comments. Yeah, and we can, there were copies, and I do apologize.
I
there
picked up
again.
all 4 that were up there, and there was not an interior checklist.
Okay, I didn't know if there was some, I do apologize.
I don't think that gentleman's question was answered though, that asked, where did this particular ordinance come from?
Where did
Who
this particular?
drafted this?
This was brought forward, by our building and official to me.
From Monroe County?
No, it's used throughout the state, it's used throughout the nation.
And they all
So
say it's
where-
unlawful to sell a house? They all say the same thing throughout the state and the nation?
The language is all the same in the book. So that is what we started from as a baseline. Henceforth, we, and that, having conversation with Margie, thought that this, and I do agree, that was short notice, but same issues came to be with the, open discussion with the water litigation. It's better to have it sooner rather than later. If we need to explore having, I think everything's under open topics. So, I mean, what I'm hearing is that there's a lot of clarification that needs to be taking place with some language.
Right. And he also asked the question, who else has this ordinance that we know of in Michigan?
Yeah, in the state.
Yep.
The city of Lincoln Park, which is the southern border of Detroit.
Stay down there.
What's the ordinance in Monroe, where you're from?
Thank you.
The ordinance was in the city of Lincoln Park while I was the building official there. I resided in Monroe. I was an inspector. I was an inspector for Ash Township and Frenchtown Township as well. They did not require or need that because they did not have the problems there that existed.
We don't have no problems. How's it going?
And I do apologize, it's sometimes hard to see everybody to the back, but I will get to that gentleman as soon as Mr. Duncan's finished. I do apologize.
Again, a question, under the, section 6 and purpose. It reads, this chapter is declared to be essential for the public health, safety, and welfare, and it is intended that this chapter be liberally construed to effectuate the purposes stated in this section. My question would be, Kurt has said several times that you have a plan for how you vision this going forward and being put into place. However, when I read this, again, I hate to just keep going back to the wording in this, but it says liberally construed, which means you can actually take it past what is written. Every document that I have looked at in terms of contract language, when liberally construed, is always to mean in the broadest sense of the word. So it's telling me that this document needs to be liberally interpreted. And again, I go back to we are concerned about the future. And what happens down the line when this is in place and God forbid somebody somewhere gets a grudge or I think that's a possibility, certainly. And even if you do a magnificent job as a building inspector, this document is still in place, and it's flawed, and again, I would say, repeal would be a good thing to do, and rewrite it in the way that it needs to be written, so that it provides both clarity and comfort for the people. But I would ask you, am I interpreting that correctly, the liberally construed?
I'm not the attorney on that part of it as far as reading the liberally construed. Yes, it would be at the purview of the inspector, the official, yeah.
Yes, sir, in the back.
These inspection standards are developed by the Housing and Urban Development in Washington DC, and just like everything in HUD, it is intended for more urban type areas. So these are actual guidelines that are well established, but they're meant to be used and changed based on your individual needs. I know about 5 municipalities within the state of Michigan all in more urban areas that are currently using these standards almost exclusively for rentals and for a rental permit program. I have never seen anyone use it, and I've never seen the inspection sheet used in its entirety. Everybody always cuts stuff out. I've never seen it used in relation to sales. And again, this all goes back to more urban areas, and maybe our differences with urban areas, but it's never been used for sales that I'm aware of.
Thank you very much for your comments, by the way, but yes.
This is not anything to do with the HUD part of the comment. These were done by the International Code Council.
HUD developed the international.
Then if they work with them, they are part of it.
Are there any other questions? Yes, Mr. Clark.
Good evening. I'm Larry Clark. I'm president of South Bay. You probably didn't expect me to go the whole meeting without saying something, did you, Nate? But I just want to point out a couple of things. First of all, South Bay has as its mission to improve beautification of the area. Yes, certainly with our cleanups and so forth. Economic development and increasing tourism, and also the addition of recreational amenities. I'm encouraged by this ordinance for one thing in particular, and that's the blight portion of it. I think the blight portion of this does a better job of probably being more encompassing, being clear and concise, instead of 3 or 4 different ordinances, they're all in one spot. But the trouble with the past blight ordinances, and this one also, could very well be lack of enforcement. And that's been the issue in the past. Certainly our efforts since 2012 has been constantly reminding township building officials about blight issues and asking for some type of remediation. Let's face it, what does blight do to our community? Decreases property values, it's a public and health safety hazard, it decreases tourism, and a number of developers have looked at our area and are concerned about the condition of it. So I think that's a very pro thing. But in closing though, I think it's pretty clear tonight that the residents of the township have spoken, and they really want the township to go back and take another look at this ordinance, look at the parts that really infringe on our rights as property owners, and maybe have another public input session to present a revised ordinance. Thank you.
At least we're feeling long enough so we can sell our houses and get out.
Are there any other questions? Yes, and again, Mr. Dominguez.
I only have one more question. When I was up there previously, you said it was gonna be a visual inspection when you come through, is that correct?
On the
interior?
on a resale,
Yeah, on a resale.
strictly on the exterior, it's a visual inspection. Any inspector does a visual inspection. We do not do destructive tests, we do not cut into walls, we do not pull apart electrical services, tear into gas lines and such. So yes, and to answer your question, strictly exterior.
Strictly exterior.
To address again the blight issue, any structural problems, anything of that nature, it's made well out of context. I can understand your feelings behind this, saying, yeah, this is a government overreach. I understand that point of view. I appreciate everybody coming in here, and I appreciate to see everybody come in and give a positive input as what they would like to see changed at the board meeting. This was strictly a question and answer, helping people understand, or just say, okay, we're coming back, we're gonna finish this, and go forward with it. But I want the support of everybody to help improve Alpena.
Cut into walls. Well, you're not cutting into walls unless you're inside the home. And so you just mean you're gonna do an exterior inspection internally into the house, right? That's what you really mean.
No.
Because that's what the ordinance says.
No.
Exactly.
I have a question as a realtor. You know, there's several transactions that are moving forward. I'm sure every realtor wants to know this answer. Are we gonna be held underneath this, ordinance at this point in time until we meet again in January 28th?
No.
Because we have a lot of transactions that are going on, and we're all gonna wonder, do we have to call it? We're gonna, lots of calls. Can we just table this until now, as far as any of the sales that are going on right
If
now?
you have a current listing, you can go forward with it.
But I-
It's in motion, so go ahead.
Okay,
There are no passes.
Actually, let me, Ms. Haxman. It has been board approved. It has also been noted that the fee schedule has not been set forth. So without a fee schedule mechanism, there is no enactment thus far. We're gonna be taking this public comment opportunity. Obviously, I'll be having individual conversations with every trustee, exploring the concerns and the questions that were brought forth. That is what this was meant to do. Obviously, it's reared up some feathers and brought forward a lot of concerns. That was what this was supposed to do. So in terms of that, it's been very constructive. Yes, is there some issues with language? Yes. Are there some clarification needs that need to be happening within certain sections? Obviously so. We are a voice of the people. We do want what's best. We want what's best for the residents. We can't break it apart by what's best for residents, what's best for realtors, what's best for bankers, what's best for, we have to look at all encompassing needs. And so, and a lot of those have been brought forth by the people in this room. So that's what the positive of this meeting today is.
Okay, so there will be no, since there are no fees that have been accepted by the Board of Trustees until the 28th, there will be nothing going on as far as penalties or having to get anything.
You are correct.
Coming here.
Yes.
Okay, so we're all set until after.
Business as usual till then?
If you are the voice of the people and you're looking out for us, why do we have to attend another meeting? You already know how we feel.
Well, I wholeheartedly agree. And honestly, you see the capacity of this room. It is always, and to be honest, I'm glad that everybody is here. Yeah, obviously there's some emotions, but I would like to see every board meeting that we conduct as a board be attended by this many people. Because there again, this was posted and brought forward in November. Do I think that we could maybe investigate and do a better job for clarifications with utilizing some of bringing in a